This is from USA Today. Louisiana law isn't about 10 commandments. It's Christian nationalist bait for the Supreme Court. I hope a majority of justices, many of whom claim to value the original intent of the men who wrote the Constitution, stick with the guiding principles in the Establishment Clause.
Spend enough time listening to politicians, and eventually one of them will tell you the truth. I can't wait to be sued, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry declared 4 days before signing a law last week mandating that all public classrooms, from kindergarten to college, display a Protestant Christian version of the Ten Commandments. Landry made that declaration not in his state's capital, but nearly 600 miles away in Nashville, Tennessee, where he was the keynote speaker at a fundraiser for the Tennessee Republican Party. Courting his party's Christian nationalists with controversy is an excellent way to boost a fellow's national profile. Getting sued and maybe having that case go to the U.S. Supreme Court, where a few justices might be willing to toss overboard decades of precedent, is even better. Again, Landry was so giddy about those prospects that he didn't even notice when a young girl standing behind him during Wednesday's signing ceremony fainted and collapsed to the floor. If you want to respect the rule of law, you've got to start from the original lawgiver, which was Moses, Landry said as others rushed to the girl's aid. An analogy about priorities was born. What's the takeaway? This has nothing to do with children or education, and everything to do with rolling back constitutional protection of and from religion.
The first 10 words of the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights in America's Constitution are about protecting us from the kinds of laws Landry just signed. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, it starts, before adding, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The Trump campaign telling lies. Trump's daughter-in-law vows to protect the vote. He tried to steal the election in 2020. The Bill of Rights is a list of priorities. Most people put the most important stuff at the top when drawing up a list. The Supreme Court, since 1947, was held that the First Amendment guaranteeing for freedom from religion and freedom of religion, known as the Establishment Clause, applies to state governments. Heather Weaver is as eager to sue Landry as he is to be sued. A lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union, Weaver told me that a lawsuit is coming this week because this issue was already settled by the Supreme Court 44 years ago when it struck down a Kentucky law requiring the posting of the Ten Commandments in classrooms. The nation's highest court also ruled in 2005 that 3 Kentucky counties violated the Establishment Clause by displaying the Ten Commandments in courthouses and public schools. Both cases were 5-4 rulings, with conservative justices on the losing side. This is a different Supreme Court, with a conservative supermajority stocked with justices. Samuel Alito comes to mind, convinced that Christians in America are somehow under threat. Alito made the claim in a college speech in May and was secretly recorded this month, agreeing with an undercover liberal activist who told him that America should return to a place of godliness. Richard C. Schrager, a professor at the University of Virginia School of Law, said some justices have been open in recent rulings to personal displays of religiosity in some secular public spaces. The court in 2022 sided with the public high school football coach who lost his job for praying on the field after games. Republicans wail about secure elections while slashing funding for election security. The Louisiana law could bridge those individual actions to institutional displays because it leans into a legal test favored by some justices about religion reflecting not just faith, but history and tradition. I think they are leaning in the direction of permitting these kinds of religious practices in schools and elsewhere, Schrager told me. I think that test is designed to be more sympathetic to those kinds of practices.
Rachel Lacer, who leads Americans United for Separation of Church and State, will join the ACLU in the lawsuit. She agrees that Landry is eager to have that fight at the Supreme Court. It's no secret that the Supreme Court is sympathetic to the Christian nationalists' agenda, with the way they've been ruling in many cases, Lasser said. The court's rulings are emboldening Christian nationalists to try to get cases before them that ends long-standing precedents in ways that favor conservative Christianity over America's commitment to religious freedoms for all.
Do you have anything to say about religion in schools?
Oh, you want my comments on religion?
Yeah.
Your faith, while you may feel is the one and only faith, other faiths feel that same way. If you are trying to force your Christianity, trying to force your religion, you wouldn't want them to have Allah everywhere. You wouldn't want them to have Buddha everywhere. So don't force your belief down someone else's throat unless you want them to force their belief down yours. Yeah, I think but I do think it's a big part of them trying to get it to the Supreme Court so they can continue throwing us back into an era that was only great for a white male. I do not think it's right. I do not agree with it. I am fine if you want to be Christian. I am fine if you want to be any type of religion, but you shouldn't force it on other people. That's not the teaching. The teaching is not make them believe or eradicate them. That's not it. It's supposed to be love your neighbor.
I mean, it has been that for a while.
It has, and that's one of the big reasons I really don't like religion, because it's just a giant hypocrisy. Plus, what's the point in having the 10 Commandments when people just go to church on Wednesday, Sunday, don't listen to a thing that's said, zone out for 30 minutes, walk out the door, and do the complete opposite of everything that they were just preaching?
And it's like the worst people you ever met.
Yeah.
It was Oklahoma Supreme Court or Capitol building. They put the satanic goat somewhere on the steps, and everybody freaked out, and they had to take down all of the Christian stuff they had up.
Okay.
You're talking about Christian supremacy.
Where's our freedom? Where's our rights? Where's our rights? Keep your fairy tale book out of kids' schools.
Put D&D stuff everywhere.
Fucked up. I want Wiccan things everywhere.
Right. In 7th grade science, my teacher refused to teach us evolution, instead teaching us about Adam and Eve in the Bible. I don't have a larger point about that, but I'm pretty sure he still has a job. And I had a teacher who was giving extra credit for kids who went out and watched movies about historical movies, and what she wanted everyone to go watch was Passion of the Christ. And I went and seen Troy, and she wouldn't give me extra credit because she said it wasn't historical or something. But Passion of the Christ is historically accurate.
Wow.
Small towns.
Come from a very religious area too.
Yeah, it's traumatizing for sure.
My pee-pee don't work, and my doctor stopped giving me Viagra.